Thank you. Now, I have the honor of taking us into the home stretch in our 10 for 10. So I'm the 10th theme, and the theme is evolution, which is a little bit of a different theme for me to talk about. But the evolution of the public company audit is something a lot of you have written about, studied, you live. And I like to talk about it as a lot of people say the future of the audit, and I say the audit of the future, because the future of the audit doesn't sound very visionary, but the audit of the future does. So, go Google this, the future of the audit of the future, the evolution of public accounting, and you'll find some common, remarkably common themes. One theme, using vast amounts of data. One thing that comes up, even unstructured data from non-traditional sources. Getting new insights from analytics and augmented intelligence. Analyzing whole sets rather than sampling. That comes up time and time again in this Google search I did. Better risk assessment from applying new tools and technologies to the entity and its operating environment, not just transactions. Think about that. Driving more real-time or forward-looking insight, not just a historical view. We've talked about that today. Better sensing trends, whether year over year, industry, geography, whatever it is. Moving from a pass-fail opinion to a richer set of contexts. How we arrived as public company auditors at the opinion. Maybe non-GAAP information. Maybe I was struck by Ken's comment earlier about alternative facts. Ken, I would be happy to give you assurance on some alternative facts. And today, maybe that's called non-GAAP metrics or non-financial metrics or whatever other KPI. So I really do think that we, Jim's final comment in that panel was about, thinking about how we might evolve, thinking about how we need to step up as a profession. And I was thinking about that as I was thinking about that we're living in such an unprecedented time of change, the pace of change, all these technologies, AI, social, mobile, augmented and virtual reality, and everything kind of coming together, cloud and blockchain. And if you think about this unprecedented time of change and what we're faced with, we really need to look at our profession, the disruption that's happening to our clients and the public companies that we audit, as well as what's happening with us and these changing investor needs and expectations of us. So we don't need the gap to get wider, we need to narrow the gap as a profession. So I was thinking about today's topic, and it's something a little different, thinking about an analogy, the evolution. If we're talking about evolution, the evolution in nature. There's a powerful lesson in this as I studied it. As it turns out, species usually develop traits slowly based on the environment around them. So think about the analogy to our profession. It's incremental. Adaptation can take thousands of years as species develop. Sometimes in nature, the environment changes so rapidly that evolution can't keep up. This has happened apparently at least 5 times in Earth's history. And guess what animal got lucky enough to survive those 5 times? I see them down at the Jersey Shore. The horseshoe crab, believe it or not. Now, I don't want to analogize auditors to a horseshoe crab, but we have actually withstood lots of controversy, lots of potential extinction. And I think, if we could engineer this instead of waiting for external factors or mandates to come to us, think about how nice it would be to leave the next generation of auditors with a platform around what this profession is going to be. That's a different way of thinking about it. That's evolution. My industry background is actually in the life sciences industry. And in biology, they've now found a very precise way to change traits without waiting on evolution. So it actually has a name. It's called CRISPR, if you research this. It's an incredible new technology that lets us rewrite the genetic code in cells. You might call that exponential evolution. So as one person that thinks about this all the time, what is our version of CRISPR? What's our exponential evolution? I do know one thing. A Fortune 50 CFO told me a few weeks ago, Cathy, incrementalism is irrelevance. So if you put that together with the quick pace of change. So I know every firm in this room that serves public companies has a different way of thinking about it, but let me give you 3 lessons as a profession. Quality and integrity will always be in our DNA and should be, no doubt about that. It's going to take all of us. This is why the CAQ's convening role is so important to the evolution of this profession. We need to hear from each other. We need to hear from government officials, regulators, academics, and yes, from our critics too. We need to listen. We need to listen to investors. And in industry, where so much securities law predates the internet age, we need a vigorous conversation around innovation. What are the rewards? What are the trade-offs? What are the risks? But there's no doubt, because we serve the public good and we have a higher calling in this profession, as someone said earlier, it's a conversation we can only have together. And last, we will need to cultivate our talent differently. I have a 15-year-old son. He's told me that he's very worried he's not going to get a job someday because a robot's going to do his job. And then he taught me a new term called, Mom, I'm just going to have to learn how to be a cobot, how to coexist with robots in order to do his job. And I think he's right. Imagine that in 10 years worth of intuitive experience can be learned by a machine in a day. Tom Friedman actually describes this in his new book. You should read it, how the ability to detect weak signals is now getting embedded in machines. So imagine if one of our brand new employees on the first day, augmented by a computer, can detect a signal that before would have taken 10 years of intuition building to see. That's happening today. So it's really important that although I've never met a machine with courage, never met a machine with empathy, creativity that can read body language, it's really important that we are investing and cultivating in the talent of tomorrow. So regardless of what the future holds, we are going to evolve. Let's be at the forefront of it, and I look forward to going along that journey with you all. So over to Keith to start our Q&A panel.